We have in today a Game Boy Pocket. This one isn't the normal Game Boy Pocket though, it's the Game Boy Pocket Lite. It's a much rarer version and much more expensive these days, and it basically has a electroluminescent light installed. It's come in because the light has faded over the years and the customer wants it more original and slightly blue. So let's take a look. This is the Game Boy Pocket Lite, and unlike the standard ones, the top actually has 3 positions. So you have off, you have on, and then you have backlight on. You can't even notice the difference between on and backlight, or barely. So you see the slight change, and the light is really dim. Let's just turn the lights down in the studio to see. And now with the lights turned off, we can clearly see the backlight there. So it's not overly bright at all, but in darkness, it's nice to be able to then view the screen. Comparing the Pocket Lite to the regular Pockets that we have, you can see the Pocket Lite is slightly longer, has the word light on here, and on the back it also uses double A's, which gives it more battery life, compared to the Pockets which just had triple A's. So let's just crack this open and take a look at how this backlight circuit is operating. And Rusty's been getting some attention online and someone sent him a load of free gifts. So, shall we try some? Hey, you got some sausages. Shall we try these first? Want to try Mediterranean farm snack? Oh yeah. And these are Primal Spirit. So if you want them, I'll leave a link in the video for where you can get them. Now let's see what Rusty thinks. Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, I think he approves. Want one more? Last one for today. There you go. And then you've got a bed full. So I'll have to work away through these. As was common back then, the tri-wing screws were to prevent people getting in them easily. These days you can buy tri-wing screwdrivers on eBay for £1 and get inside them no problem. And then taking a look inside, we can see, much like the Game Gears and similar things with fluorescent tubes, there's literally a big warning. And that's because these EL lights run at hundreds of volts, so you literally will get zapped if you touch inside of here while it's running. With the screws removed, and if we lift up, we can see a few differences compared to the original Game Boy Pocket. Here is the transformer that converts the low 3 volts to hundreds of volts, and it's labelled T1 for transformer. And then this is the electroluminescent backlight here that just rests in under the screen and has carbon pads that make contact with the output here. With the board out on its own and powered from bench, let's first take a look at some things. So when we power on with no screen, we can see it draws about 55 milliamps. That's without the backlight connected. And with the backlight held really safely with a piece of towel over the top, you can see it pulls 80 milliamps, so only 30 milliamps more. And if we probe on the input of the transformer here, you can see we get just over a 1 kilohertz square waveform at approximately 12 volts, so just under 12 volts. And then probing the output going to the EL light, you can see it goes off the scale. And if we scale it up, we have about 72 volt RMS, and the peaks are going to 160 volts and minus 80 volts, so about 200 volt swing. So this then goes to this EL pad to power an electroluminescent backlight. So all we now need to do is replace this backlight, the EL backlight, with a new option. So these are too small, but we can show the customer now the colours before we order a larger size and cut it down. So this one is technically white, but you can see it gives off a slight blue hue. And if we slide that behind, you can see it basically looks pure white there. So next up is this ice blue colour. So it's got a definite blue tinge to it. And if we slide that behind, you can see you get a really nice blue glow. So I'd say this is the one the customer probably wants to go with. And this is the customer's original one, which is much duller, but has a green tinge to it. Now the customer has actually asked explicitly for a more original blue, and these things do go a bit more green with time, but whether the replacement blue is too blue, we need to really ask the customer before we commit to this. It needs to be at least 50mm wide by 45mm, and you can cut this with scissors to any size. So once I've confirmed the colour with the customer, I'll order these in the size we need and get this sorted. But hopefully they go with this nice ice blue. I personally think this one looks the best when behind the screen, but we shall see.